We got a thumbs up. All right, everyone. It is Monday, July 10th, 2023, and you are at a Wausau Waterworks Commission meeting at Wausau City Hall. Welcome, everyone. We have everyone here in person. Thank you for joining us. The first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the June 6th, 2023 meeting. I would entertain a motion. I have a motion by Alder Herbst and a second by Commissioner Jean. Is there any discussion here? All right, all of those in favor of approving the minutes of June 6th, 2023 meeting can signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up is our director's report, and I think I will pass that over to you, Mr. Lindman.
Thanks, Mayor. I had a number of updates on kind of where things are at this point, as far as lead service lines, and then our RFQ that's out on the street right now. An update that Scott, Ben, and I went to the Water Research Foundation down in Chicago, which was a great couple of days of information. I tried to put some highlights in there in case anything triggers some questions for anybody on what's coming up. And I know the mayor had an update on the budget impacts and where things are at with the $125 million for PFAS as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, so Governor Evers signed the budget into law on last Wednesday. So the money is there, $125 million. Now, the complicating thing is that we don't have any rules governing how we spend that money. So we'll wait on the legislature to determine that, or if maybe there's some other way around, I guess we'll find that too. But so far, we're just waiting, and we know that it's been allocated. Mr. Robinson.
I just have some comments relative to the biosolids, and I understand the reluctance on the part of many people to become engaged in monitoring of biosolids, but I just would like to point out, I think there was some opinion in there, and the state of Maine, the state of Michigan are very concerned about what's going on with biosolids relative to PFAS in agricultural products. Michigan is a leader in trying to set some of those standards. I think if you look to the north in Wisconsin, in Oneida County, there are some concerns over elevated levels of PFAS in groundwater, and I think the concern is that some of that may be associated with land application of biosolids, and I think we cannot take our eye off of it, and it is there are a number of people that are pushing for the development of standards, not because it's politics, but because the lack of certainty creates uncertainty. The uncertainty creates fear. You have a significant number of towns in Marathon County that are looking at ways of banning the land application of biosolids. So I think for us not to take it seriously is a mistake. We need to stay on top of it in both the effluent and the biosolids moving forward. And I would hope that we would continue to look at the product in terms of what we're producing and what the short and long-term ramifications and liability associated with its use are. I'm hoping that with the GAC system that much of the inflow or the inputs into the system will be removed, but we don't know what the products are in the system. Obviously, we have some concerns as a community with all 6 of our wells going down. Somebody in the community is using it, and if we're not, we need to be vigilant and cautious in where we go and what we do going forward, and it is an issue that we as a commission should be paying attention to.
If you don't mind me addressing a question to you, Mr. Robinson, do you think this is an opportunity for us to continue the discussion at the MPO, which includes more county key players? And then the other thought I had is maybe this is an opportunity to have a discussion with the DNR about, what are the expectations here? What would we, because I think that's one of the things that surprised me the last time was that I wasn't sure what happened once we got our results back, and now we see what happened. So I would love to have the discussion further, but I think I would like to know more.
I think that it is an appropriate question. The focus at the MPO has been more on the water side. And you and Eric have been active in that, and I think it's something that we may want to look at. It's an issue that's not unique to Wausau if the other communities are experiencing it. But as evidenced by the PFAS conference that was held earlier this year in Wausau, where the Wisconsin Towns Association is one of the co-sponsors. This is an evolving issue where they are increasingly concerned about what's in the stream. From a wastewater perspective, as the WPDS permits come up for renewal, there will be sampling requirements relative to effluent. There still are issues on where do we go, and I think it's an uncomfortable topic. We don't fully understand all of the science. We don't understand how it translates into what parts per million or parts per billion is too much in land application, but we are seeing, if you look across the state, some areas where there's concern where the primary source is more than likely the spreading of or land application of some of those solids. So I think we just have to be careful, and I think we have to be, the MPO is a good venue. There are also, the last couple of meetings that I've gone to with the Towns Association, it has been a real concern of many of them. So I think that there are other parties too.
Okay, maybe we can continue the conversation in that way. Do you have anything you'd like to add? I don't know anyone on staff, or I might need you to turn your mic on though, otherwise I'll get my hand.
We have been notified by the Municipal Environmental Group that the DNR will be testing our biosolids sometime in the very near future. So maybe that puts your mind at ease that the DNR is taking action. So that, from what I understand, it'll be sometime in July. So.
I think that's part of the start of it. And, I also want to state that, we are taking this very seriously, and we will continue to do that. I think one of the things that we saw with the water is that, Wausau's, I think, has always been proactive, and we want to be able to maintain that and be proactive. But we also don't want to be proactive and then have a regulatory agency make it punitive on us for doing so. And just like we're going to start having discussions about the leachate, and we have a meeting set up for the end of July related to that with the DNR and the county on that, to make sure that whatever that we're going to do together to try to set a program up, that it's not punitive to the users of Wausau or even the county. And I think that the regulatory agencies fail to see that, and that's at the federal level and the state. And we really saw that when we went down to the Water Resources Group, and talked with these other municipalities from around the country, is that, there's great research happening right now as far as how these biosolids react in the soils. What they're seeing is that, the PFAS that they're seeing, at least the regulated contaminants that are being tested for going into the wastewater treatment plant, are lower than what's coming out. And so they're having this biotransformation of these precursors, and so there's all of these different things that are happening that, you're right, we don't understand yet. And so we want to make sure that we're working with the regulatory authorities and not, one against the other. And so your point is well taken, and I think that's the strategy that we're going to right now. But I think that in that group and that discussion that we had down, is that they feel that we're not there yet, and it's been a struggle across the country. And so I hope that we get there. And the DNR seems to be on board, but, I think further discussions need to happen, for sure. Yep.
Mr. Force.
Excuse me, just a few questions, Eric. In the lead service line report, it says the actual number of LSLs was 55 versus the original estimate of 90. So are all 55 that have been identified, are all 55 going to be remediated?
They're all bid and scheduled to be replaced. So the homeowners will have, the final determination on whether it comes to fruition, right? They've opted in, they've said that they wanted it, and so there's really one final step. We have a contractor on board right now signing contracts, and then they will meet with the contractor. And
But we haven't had a big pushback like we had in some of the other cases.
we have had a couple, at least one that has just refused anybody coming in.
Right.
But no, nothing like we had in the past,
Okay.
Jim.
Then on another matter, we were going to test biosolids or PFAS at the plant beginning in June. Is that taking place?
It has. I just got results. So PFOA, PFAS combined are about 9.9. The four precursors that EPA plans on regulating with those, we had 3 non-detects and 1.42 parts per trillion. So we weren't even close to even starting with that addition of one, and I forget the proper term for it. What is that? John, I'm sure you know what that is. The four precursors added together, the safety factor.
hazard index?
Hazard index, yeah, that's what I'm looking for, thank
Yeah.
you.
So we're well below the requirement?
Correct.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Robinson?
Just a follow-up. Tonight, you've got the meeting on, for the, on the lead service line at 5:30.
Yeah.
And so you had 90 identified and 55 took, or what were the numbers? Did we not find lead service lines on the private side on those, the rest of them?
Right. So what had happened is that we set up temporary water for everybody on those projects, right? So for all of those individuals, and where they connect for that water is down at the curb stop, on the backside of the curb stop. And so when they dug down, there were a number of those lines where they didn't find lead leaving the curb stop going to the home. And so that eliminated those, a number of those sites.
So are there some opportunities for us to update our database based on that, or is it really a site-by-site?
We are updating
person.
it as we get more information, especially the field data, And I think that what we found, though, is I think that we're going to have to spend some upfront money in planning to do some hydro excavating, the year ahead of time of the ones we're proposing to do the following year, because to have this difference in what we have inventoried in GIS versus what's actually in the field just shows our records are that, they're just not accurate. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Jean?
With regard to the sanitary, those that want to replace it, will that dictate the type of, will that be open construction, or can they pull a lateral in?
Yeah, the contractor that bid this is proposing all of them to be open excavation this year. For the water lines. Now, if people elect to have their sanitary line done, they'll be able to do that as well. Yep.
With regard to PFAS, of the monitoring of the sludge, do they have a defined protocol testing procedure for that at this point? Because I think that was one of the glitches even on the wastewater liquid side.
I don't know if there's a standard in place yet, but they are testing. The walk away from the meeting that the job fair, not the job fair, the work program we went to in Chicago, they really didn't define that. There are labs that are testing, but I don't know if it's a standard for the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure what method Wisconsin's going to use.
Right.
They've been talking about using the one, I believe, that DOD or Michigan is using, something on that, yeah.
Well, if they're the lead in getting the testing done, that in itself should add uniformity through all the plants.
And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes into play is these precursors that everybody's been referring to, because there's a lot of unknowns with that, where they can actually form the long or the short change within the treatment system itself. So,
John, you mentioned, was it Oneida County having problems with sludge being?
Tonastella? The speculation in Tonastella and in some of those areas are that the likely source is land spreading, land application.
It seems like the well was right near a farm field where it would have been spread.
That community, or that township is not near the airport then?
No.
Okay. All right. That's just curious.
Any other comments or highlights you'd like to share on the director's report? Thank you.
So,
All right, moving on to item number 3. discussion and possible action approving the sole sourcing of polymer for the new belt filter presses and gravity belt thickeners from Midwest Chemical. I would entertain a motion. I have a motion from Alder Herbst and a second from Commissioner Jean. Any comments, questions? All right, I'm not seeing any. So all of those in favor of approving the sole sourcing of polymer for the new belt filter presses and gravity belt thickeners from Midwest Chemical can signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. That passes. Last item on the agenda, I would take a motion to adjourn. I've got a motion by Alder Herbst and a second by Commissioner Jean. All in favor can signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much, everyone.